Nice. It's David R. Becker with BeckerArt, and we're here in Springfield, Illinois. And I'm sorry about the connection. Hopefully it will work. I'm actually running this off of my phone. I'm tethering off my phone because this the hotel for some reason is not giving me great internet. So hopefully this is not. And if it does give you problems, please let me know. I'm not sure what I can do about it, but we're here in Springfield, Illinois, and the state capital in and we, the beer today I found from Normal, Illinois, not from Springfield. I couldn't find anything from Springfield at the moment, but I found some dragon fruit wild sour dragon fruit mango IPG, and it's from a distill brewery in Normal, Illinois. So we're gonna give that a shot. Let's see, dragon fruit. I've had something like this before. Kind of sour, but not bad. I'm gonna give it a 7. It's not the best, but if you like dragon fruit mango IPG, it's not bad. It's a good summer drink. All right. So we'll give that about a 7. You know, that's not a great thing for me to give it a 7, but it's okay. And I'm not sure why I got a wild sour because it is kind of sour. All right, let's go into it and see if this thing works. And please tell me if it's not sounding good. Um, because again, like I'm tethering off my phone, which I've never done before. And if this works, this is great. I can do it anywhere. My phone works. And so this is pretty neat. So here's my website, BeckerArt.net, or my name. Just always remember my name with my R in it, and you're fine. DavidRBecker.com. If you use BeckerArt, it's .net. And so we're going to go to our materials, which of course are my Holbein watercolors, my brushes. We're not using any masking fluid. We aren't using any transfer paper, but we are using our Stonehenge Aqua. And today, again, we're using our 140. And again, I'm going to show you how to spray it so that you can get it flat on your board instead of using 300 pound. I'm using 140. And hey, Lyle. Hey, Dave. Hey, Kieran, Maria, Betsy, and Kathy. Thanks again for stopping by. And so it says like it sounds good. Great. All right. It's not, I'm just hoping it doesn't slow down or anything like that. So let's go to our value study and figure this out. And so this scene doesn't have much color in it. So what I'm going to show you is that since it is all brown, basically it's all brown. Now you can do it with one color. If you're going to do that, you can just use like a sepia tone and just use one color, and then it would kind of look good. But I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it a little bit more colorful. I'm thinking I'm going to do it in purple. Of course, I love purple. So we're going to try to do it in some fun colors and colors that you would never normally use like this. I saw an artist on the website just recently this week. Lucy something, and she was at a plein air, and she does all of her work really colorful. I just want to make this a little bit more colorful. This looks kind of, like serious chess game in a castle or something. So that's a great, for the chessboard. And so if you want to do that, definitely do that. But look at the values. I was thinking, see all these things back here, the bricks. I'm not going to put that in as much as it has back there. And there's also a light back here, which I'm not going to turn on because I do like, watch this, see this light? So what is light? The window outside, the curtain, the chessboard, the tabletop, and these cushions. And that's it, that's the lights. So everything else can be just one big wash of middle tones and darks. And so that's what I'm gonna do. But first I'm just gonna put down my light areas, my light colors. And like I said, I'm gonna make this a little bit more colorful than I would think that I'm going to bring it up a little bit instead of using just these sepia tones. And again, if you want to make it look sepia tone and make it look old and worldly, like old world type, then that's great. Just use like one color, use a sepia, maybe use a burnt sienna, not burnt sienna, burnt umber, like a burnt umber, a brown, some kind of brown, or mix two colors together, use black and orange, and just use those two colors because it'll still look great and it'll still look like what it is. But I'm gonna try a little something and see how it works. And again, all the little pieces, they have a little bit, it would have been probably pretty good to go in here into these areas that are really fine details. But I'm just going to put white paint on them if I feel that I need that little bit of light instead of masking fluid. And same thing for the edging on what do you call it, on the bricks. That'll be okay. It's uh-oh, drop some frames. See, it did. So the quality's going to go down a little bit. Sorry. thought that may happen, but hopefully it'll just stutter a little bit and it won't be a big effect. So the lights I'm going to use, and look at how clean I made my palette. There's a sink behind me, and I just thought, well, I should maybe clean it today. So I cleaned it up a little bit, and I am going to leave a lot of white. Like it is what it is. It is white in the window, but we're going to make it fun, and I'm going to keep it a little light, more of a tint. Of course, a little bit of lavender. Just make it. I am going to make it look kind of messy. I kind of want that messy look. So a little bit of lavender, because you know how much I love lavender. Even the curtain, the curtain, this sheer curtain, we can do a little bit of lavender there. Maybe a little pink. A little pink and lavender. And these are my lights. And again, I'm probably going to tell me a couple of times that it's going to drop some frames because I'm not a big high streaming quality. Because I'm again doing it off my phone. So if it does break up, I'm sorry about that. But for some reason, this hotel, as I've been having problems all day. At one point, it wasn't giving me any internet. I went down to the desk and asked, and they said, "Well, it's probably the internet is down, and so we'll have to start it back up again." And I thought, "Oh boy, this is not going to be good." All right, so what's also here? This pillow, and this pillow is a little bit farther forward, so let's give it a little bit of orange, just a little bit of warmth. See, I don't. These things are light, and so that I'm not going by the color. Basically, I'm going by the color being that they're light. And so you put any color you want there, even though this pillow is probably just a really light tan color, and this over here, same thing. It's kind of very tan light, but I'm going to give it a little bit more color than that. And then maybe a little bit. And again, these are my lights. This is my light area. And look at how I'm just leaving that white in the paper too, here and there. Taking a little bit of paint. And again, please, anybody that's new here, you guys know to ask me questions. I look up every once in a while. I can see your questions. So just ask away. I just judged a show today for the Sangamon Watercolor Society here in Springfield, Illinois, and really nice stuff. Really, really nice stuff. But each one of a lot of the students got to, or not students, the members got to do enter up to three, and so of course sometimes the really good ones, I didn't realize you only give one award away to one person, but when a person is a good artist, they're a good artist, and so they brought three paintings and they were very good, and a couple of them didn't look like they were the same artist, and so I gave them, and then later on found out that I was giving it to some of the same people, so you can only give one. So but really nice show. And I'll post it once they learn. Tomorrow is the opening, and I'll have to give a little talk there. So here now again, a little warmth, a little warm. I'm taking pink and this is Jean number 2, and just putting that over it. See, it's kind of like a warm color. It's still light, and then on top of the board. And I can go right through all the pieces because they're going to just have the light. And this is the light again. I'm not putting dark down. And I was just talking to somebody at lunch today after I judged. They took me out to lunch at a really nice little place here in Springfield. Last night I had jerk who was it? Jerk burrito, a Jamaican. There's a Jamaican restaurant not too far from here, and I just was going taking pictures, and I got some Jamaican food. So there, putting a little bit of light, a little light, because these parts are going to be really dark. So I'm just getting get all our light areas, and maybe there is some. Look at the shadows across here too, but not the shadows shouldn't be done yet. We'll do them later after you get all your lights in. So first your lights, and of course, I use for my light. I use my magic color of lavender because it is a magic color. It is so magical. A little bit of pink in there to do the light areas. And these areas are all dark. And so maybe up here, I'll put a little bit of that color in there just to get you to see. Oh, look at that pink. Oh my gosh. You never thought I used pink and it's like this will go in a girl's room, a little girl's room. No, but it'll be fine. It'll work out well. Betsy asks if I do this every year. No, not every year. I think I did this one 2 years ago. Um, I did this one I think 2 years ago. It just seemed very quick, but it's either I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before I came here and did the same exact workshop. But not every year, just when they invite me. If you have a place that you want them to invite me, just give them my information and see. And a lot of times I come, to the new areas and I put a little bit on this. There's a lampshade right here. I'm just going to put a little light there because that's going to be spotted out a little bit. And I can do a little bit darker on this curtain just so that I don't have to probably go into it later. And so for my purple, a lot of this will be brown because I'm using purple. And what's the opposite of purple? Yellow. Yellow and brown are kind of very closely related. They're cousins, so they'll be fine. They'll work fine together. And so here's my lights now, and I think I got them pretty much all that I want. Oh, I forgot to spray this. Oh, I totally forgot about this. I want to show you guys again. Because it's starting to wrinkle a little bit. And, why is it wrinkling? I'm telling myself. So take your sprayer bottle and just wet the whole back. Forgot about this story, guys. I was wondering why my paper was starting to buckle a little bit. So I'm going to go over the whole back with this spray bottle and then my board. I just spray the board. I didn't do a big wash, totally a big wash yet. That's how come it wasn't buckling a real lot, but I started realizing that where I'm wetting, it's starting to buckle. And now I'm just going to press it down a little bit with clean water, which I should have done first, but they'll be fine. Okay, now it's going to lay flat. And again, if you're using 140, do that first. Just wet the back, put it onto plastic or plexiglass, something that not so much the something that absorbs, because you want to put it on something that stays wet underneath in between, because now no air will get in between here in the paper. And I'm gonna take my towel and just blot it down a little bit because I should have done it right in the beginning. I should have just pressed it down. And so now I'm doing this in a wet wash. It's ugly. So even I make mistakes, guys. See, I just totally forgot to wet the paper. I'm so used to using 300 pound, but I've been trying to show you guys that you can use 300 pound, 140, as long as you wet it, but don't tape it. Don't tape it. If you are using 140, don't tape it because as soon as you tape it, even when you spray it, don't, don't tape it first or spray and then tape it because still it's expanding. And then when it dries or when it expands, it just wrinkles. And so, and you can't keep it down when it's wet anyway. So you just usually that's what happens when you're taking 140 and you put tape on it. When it expands, it wrinkles, and so you don't want that. All right, so there we have our lights. That's basically our lights. And now let's go into our darks. Let's go right. I'm going to go from one side to the other, and because basically my big middle tones and my big darks are going to be one. So remember my three-step, and I know there's some new people here watching, listening to me today, because I've been telling a bunch of people, and so we probably have some new people watching. And you can also speak up, guys. Anybody's new, you can ask away into the sidebar there, the chat bar. But I was talking how I have a three-step process. First is the lights and the color, right? Step one of the BeckerArt three-step. So we do the lights, which are the color. Number two is the large middle tones and darks. So these are even more detailed here. They're darks, but I'm just going to go from this side to this side. So I'm going to put my hand over it. Like I don't want to do this side first because I'm going to constantly put stuff over it. So I'm going to work over here first. And I'm going to use a brush that best fits this purpose. So right now, the top of so I'm using a purple. I'm going to use a purple and an orange for a brown. I'm just going to come right down here and just get this large here right now. I even went across kind of quickly, so I have picking up a little texture of the paper. It's pretty thick. It's not wet, so I'm getting a hard edge, and that's fine. I'm going to go right down the side of the wall here. When I get to the chair, now again, anytime I wet something, I put other colors in there a lot of times. Like if I look now, now's the time I can put like maybe colors that are coming in from the outside. How about a little bit of violet that I had there first and maybe get coming in, just wet it. It's wet already, and so I'm just gonna plop that in there. It's not super bright here today either because the sun. You know, it was bright an hour ago, the sun was shining straight into my eye here. But now, of course, it's gone, and so it's not going to be as vibrant. But I do have these lights. I have my plein air lights for nocturnal light for my nocturnal scenes, and so that's what I'm using actually to light up my studio here because they literally do not have any lights in the ceiling in this hotel. So I'm just gonna I make do with what I have. And so now the chair that goes right into the chair. Let's go right into the chair, same color as that background, and then just go in here and just kind of do the top of the pillow on the back of the chair, the upholstery part. And then there's the top of the arm here that stays light. Then the pillow itself, I'm going to make it a little bit different than this brown, so I'm not going to go right in there right away. So let me just wet it. And so I want a soft edge up here, so I'm just going to wet it with nothing. A dirty brush, basically, and down to this table, which is negative paint that tabletop, right? So let's put some color into this little chair here, pillow, I mean, upholstery. Bring that down. That's a large middle tone. Take some more purple, put that in there because it is a lot darker down here. You can still put color in your darks and still make them work. And this is more of a middle tone. And I'm going to do the side of this thing. So this is middle tone. I'll get one step darker. So basically I'm putting down my middle tones here so that I can get one step darker and make those arms, which are a little bit darker, the arms of the chair. And so I'm just going to wet this all together. Again, I'm looking for the light here, light tabletop, light on the top of the pillows, and that's it. The rest I want dark, and meaning either medium dark or dark dark. Two different darks. There's a middle tone dark and there's a really dark dark. And you can mix any color you want in there. I kind of mix all my darks together here, which is blue, Prussian blue, black, peach black, Prussian or blue, and Midazolam brown, alizarin crimson. You know, all these together just make it really dark, dark. And though I do that, like I said, I wanted more of a middle tone right there. And so let me just do the middle tone here first, so I can get darker there one more step. Top of the desk, the side of the desk will be a little bit lighter than underneath, this part underneath. So I either got to do the light part first, which is the medium, the light medium first, and then the dark over top of that. And why am I using this small brush? So I'm going to go through here, pick up a lot of pigment, and I'm wetting it as I go along. I don't wet it like piece by piece. I wet it as I go along. Like I don't wet this whole area before. I'm just wetting it as I go along with the color. You know, put a little lavender in there too. And this whole side here looks like this chessboard is just slightly over the table here. And I'll do this side of it too. Again, this is middle tone. Make it a little bit more warm because it's farther forward. And when I say warm, I just dip into my orange and reds, and that makes it warmer. Now that was still wet, so I'm getting a soft edge there, which that's okay. And even this little part right there is gonna be darker, my middle tone, but let me just again put my middle tone down here. Maria asks or says, "Love how you throw all these colors in there. It makes it so much more interesting." Yeah, that's the reason I think I do it too, just so that's not just bland and you know, I like to have a little bit more color in there. And but am I getting behind here? Let's see. We got Linda from Tennessee. Hello. We got Marion from Australia. Oh wow. Are you up? Shouldn't you be sleeping right now? Northern Wisconsin, we have Jane. Thanks, Jane. Right, and so let's just keep on going here. And this whole area here is all middle tone. And like I say, I put a lot more middle tone in here because I'm going to be putting the darks in there to create shapes and stuff. That's what you do with glasses. You create shapes with your darks, your smaller dark and your detailed darks. Detailed darks create shapes. Right now I'm getting big areas of dark and medium, mostly medium though, mostly larger mediums first, and then I'll go to my darker large darks, and then my detail darks. It's always the same thing. If you ever watched me for these many years, you know that I do the same thing over and over again, and I don't change it when I'm at home. working my own work, it's always the same because that makes it easy on you. Makes it easy to understand what to do, and that's like how when I design my work, I do that no tan where I do the black and white because the middle tone again is either in the dark or in the light. And so there are middle tones in here, but I give them a area. I make sure that I know what part of that middle tone is going to go where. I have to know that so I can then keep my design elements of my painting okay. That's about design. It's all about how to give it design and elements of design. And now I'll just make a orange and blue, make a brown too. And so I put that in there. I'm gonna throw some purple in here. I haven't had any purple in here for a little bit. Let's throw some purple in there. Now is there? Oh, there's a light right here, and I can keep that a little bit lighter. You notice how I'm leaving this hard edge right now? No, it is darker later, but it's okay because it's going to all fall together. And there's a little bit lighter up there, which I think I can make the harder edge up here later also with the darker wash. This pillow is kind of light, and so I'm gonna take my round brush because I got to draw a little bit something. And since this pillow is really orangey red, I'm gonna do the same with this one, like make them a little bit the same. Let's have some more of this sour beer. Oh wow, it really does make me pucker. Oh God. Oh wow. That's the thing, right? It's not bad. It's just that it's kind of sour. Well, I shouldn't have bought one that said wild sour series. All right, so around the pawns here. So I'm gonna go and kind of go around a little bit of these chess pieces, but still trying to make, and the dark ones I can get later, but I'm just gonna try to make this wet in the wet. It's still a larger area. Throw a little purple in there, lavender. And it goes to a pretty light light because behind it, now look behind it over here, how dark it's gonna get. So let's keep that nice and light. And I can again still put my darks in there. I can still control, this is a soft edge right there. I can control it with, it's really wet right now. And so I'll just put a little water in there to control the edge. All right, so let's do our background now. Because this is all middle tone. This is all middle tone. It's pretty light still. Now we're gonna go into our darks over here. And start out with this brush, but I'm gonna have to change right away to my big brush. But I'm just gonna get the parts of the chess pieces in there for now. Oh, I should have drawn them better. Well, I can always put in white paint too. I think this is the king. There's a queen. Looks like this is like the arm of the chair right here. Ah, I'm right into my pillow. Hey, Andrea from Minnesota. Marion, it's 10 a.m. here. Oh, in the morning. Oh, so you're just waking up and you have a cup of coffee. Oh, that's nice. Cheers. Cheers with a cup of coffee. Little advertising for Australia then, saying, wake up with wake up with BeckerArt and have your cup of coffee and paint. So here we go with the darks over here. And now at first I was going to put this light on. There's like a little bit of a shade, a light shade there. But I thought, no, I don't light it up because then I have another light that really shouldn't be on. I mean, I like how the light just hits the chessboard, and that's all you really need. Here, I'll put this when I have this in my brush, I can do this dark right here. Now I'm going to wet the surface of the light shade, but not all the way to the edge on this side. And then I'm just going to use enough paint so I can do that all soft edge around it. So that edge will be hard, but everything else around it will be soft. Now I'm waiting a little bit farther ahead, so this then will be different kind of than this. And I know people like that look of the brick, but you gotta do that later. That's too detailed, and it's not that important to put it way back here. And if you give it too much attention, your eye goes way too far back, and you want to keep your eye on the chessboard. That's what the whole painting is about, the chessboard. Let's get a big brush. And it's got a really nice dark right here around the nice and thick. I'm gonna make it purple, permanent violet, a little bit of brilliant orange, and I'm just gonna go right here, and I'm just gonna kind of go and do the lampshade and get thicker right underneath it, and then just wet it as I go along here. Maybe I'll put a little bit of warmth right in here too. Just nice and dark. Because as it gets up here, it gets lighter. So up here, I'm gonna wet it, keep it lighter. And I know this is still not dry, so this is gonna probably give me a kind of a like a little water effect, but that's okay. And look at how nice and wet this is. And look how much pigment I'm using. You really have, when you're doing things dark, and like this is a medium, when you're doing things dark, it has to use a lot of paint, a lot of dark pigment. You don't have a lot of dark pigment. Once it dries, boy, you're not going to get very much going there. It's going to look all really light. Now this edge right there is way too hard, so let's take our brush, wet that surface of the curtain, just wet it, and then I'm going to float some pigment in there so it just comes over by itself. The arm of the chair is kind of dark on the side, but light on the top, so I'm going to stop it right at the chair. Do the curtain. Use enough pigment to stop your pigment. And tomorrow morning is when I start my class. Tomorrow morning at the it's a 4-day workshop too, which is kind of nice. 4-day workshops, you really get to work people a lot. And so there's a lot like my Tillman's workshop and this workshop are, I don't normally do 4 days, a lot of them, but when I do them, boy, I really put you through the ringer because there's a lot of work to be done, and you really kind of learn a lot because I make sure that we get a lot of things happening. And we can cover many, many things because we're there for 4 days. So then again, let's make this a little bit darker here. And you notice I'm working wet into wet. I'm still trying to make sure I get the nice look around the curtain, get all these nice soft edges, and there's a lot of granulation happening. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's a lot of granulation in there right now. And that's how you get granulation. A lot of pigment floating in your washes. Now that curtain is really, really ugly. So let's make this a little bit nicer. I'm gonna wet it and wet it again, and then put some fun colors in there. Some lavender, especially lavender, because that's just a beautiful color. It is the magic color, they say. I could even put a stencil in it, but this is almost too little. You know, it's too small a curtain to put maybe, I've been doing that lately where I do the sheer curtain, and then you put a little bit of a stencil on it to give it a kind of a texture, a pattern in there. All right, I'm giving this way too much attention over here, but I do want it to look nice. I really like this little thing right here. And behind this will be a little bit darker. Again, around this is a big stool chair type of thing over here. And so I'll get a little bit of a soft edge, but I will make it dark behind it, just to kind of show you. So there's like a little bench. And actually the bench is darker, but I decided to make this a little bit lighter than the thing, so it's fine. This is probably, again, upholstered so that there's something all around it. But it's not that important over here, and I'd rather just keep it simple. The shadowing, I can get a little bit harder edge or I can rub out. That's another thing I was telling people today when I was judging, is that I don't mind when people rub out. For some reason, we've been told never to like rub something out. You gotta make sure it's always really nice and that you're not rubbing things out. But there's a lot of artists out there, myself included now, that I use a rub out technique just to make it look better. To go in and take out a soft edge of something and just rub it out. It's just so easy and so nice. It looks so great. And I'll show you that later when I'm rubbing things out. Here I'm just putting again a little bit of, I know this curtain is far away and it's a really dark there, but let's see. I was thinking maybe put a shadow across it. Let me go down here with a little bit dark. Let me come down here. So I want to thank all the people that lately been telling me that they really like these videos and that's helped them so much, and I'm very happy for that. I mean, that's the reason I do them, and so I will keep on doing them. And I really enjoy seeing your work that you do. And again, you can, for those of you who don't know where to place them afterwards for us to see them, you go to Facebook and I have a Becker Art group that you can put them there, and we can look at them. We can say if you want to critique, we can do that. We can give you accolades of how wonderful it is too, if you like that, which, everybody likes that once in a while when you do a nice piece. And even if you don't do a nice piece, even if you want some help and it didn't work out, that's fine too. We'd love to see those and help you out. That's why that's why I'm here to help you out. Maria says if I lift out, yeah, I could do that, and that's a good time, but not yet. It's a little bit too wet to lift out a little section, like those little lines. That you can do while it's actually dry. You don't have to do that while it's totally wet like this because it'll just fall back in there. So those little lines, I can just rub those out when it's dry. I really don't have to do them while it's just, this is really, really wet right now. And to get the brickwork, I can just rub that out later. And I can also put darker bricks on top too. Here, I notice that this is starting to get just a little bit drier right there. So, but good suggestion. Let's make this a little bit darker right here again. All right. So that's my big mediums, my big darks. I have no big mediums and darks left. Now what I do? My dark details. And one thing I've noticed now that the only place I have this violet, this lavender is right there. And yes, there are some floating around, but I need to have more of that somewhere. And so the first place I'm going to put it is in the window itself again, so that this back here looks a little bit like there's something on the outside. And I should have used more of the lavender and not this dirty color in my brush. Just want to get a little bit more of that color elsewhere because it's bad to have just one color in one spot because then my eye goes right to it and doesn't go anywhere else. Your eyes automatically kind of look for something that's different, and so that's not a good thing. It's good for your set of interest, and I will put some of that into the board, and I'll actually use that for my shadowing of the pieces. So when I instead of having my brush, I might as well do that right now. I'm using a shadow on this board right here. I'm going to take pure lavender and just bring it across, and that'll give me the look of that color elsewhere. And here we have the pieces. I'm going to do a little bit of this into the chessboard to show that the light's coming from here. And that's our light source. We don't have any other light source. This is not a light source. I was going to make it one, but I thought, no, I don't want to do that. Maybe put a little bit of violet here too. So lavender, this nice lavender. The back part of this is a little bit darker, so I'm just going to make this all, and it's transparent so I can see through. That's the nice thing about transparent watercolor is that you see through the item. When you're using gouache, you're putting it down, you don't see through your line, you don't see your line, so that's where it gets kind of hard. But see how now the violet is elsewhere? And even on the pawns that are white and the chess pieces that are white, I can use this as the shadow color. So there's one right here. So there's one light piece there. And boy, you know what I gotta do? I just gotta make this a little bit bigger for a second so I can see what you're doing. Hold on. Let me just make this bigger. And so we have, okay, we got one there. We have one in the back. I'm going from right to left. Oh, we got the castle, we got the horse. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight of them. So eight pieces I think are white. All right, so let's see if we can find them. I kind of drew them where I could see them. So it's this horse right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the shadow on them. That's violet, so I know that they're the light pieces. And then the dark pieces will go all around them. Dark pieces are easy. You just put them on where the dark is. But the light pieces, there's this one. There was this one back here. And you can fake it too. I mean, it's just, I'm not making them hyper realism. So If I make one a little bit different, and actually you don't even see the pieces very well because I didn't draw them well enough that you can tell what piece is what, kind of, but not that well. Because the dark pieces, of course, will be all dark compared to the light pieces that have just a light shadow on them. They're white basically, and I'm gonna put a light shadow on them. And you can put them on all these pieces if you think about it, because I can just then pick and choose my dark ones and then put it on there. So that I shouldn't even look. I should just do it over everything and then get your dark pieces to go on top of that. Put the shadow. I just feel like I need the shadow going across here, even though it doesn't do that in the picture. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna throw it like the chair is next to the curtain, which it isn't, but see, that's the artistic license. I can do whatever I want in my painting. And so that's what I did. Just brush it out of here, back over here. Any questions? How much time we have? Oh, we still got half an hour almost. My gosh, that's nice. All right, let's get our these parts are still wet, so I can't go in there and get my detailed darks. Over here, it's also a little wet. So let's just get our pieces done then. It's kind of too early to do that, but because you still want your large areas of darks done first, before you get your details. But hey, this is live TV, so we have to get things done when they're ready. And could I lift off it? Let me see. I'll take Maria's suggestion. See how I can lift off the lines. See the little line I just lifted off? So yes, you can, and it's just, but it's still a little too wet. But this will be a soft edge lift. But yeah, it's still too wet. I'll have to wait. And really, you can take a stiff brush and go in there because see how it just comes back in? It's that wet, and I'll just come right back in. Let's get our dark pieces done. Let's go in here with just a dark, some orange. It doesn't have to be all the same darkness. And this piece right here looks like a rook. So we're just going to make this a nice dark. And so if you get it kind of looking like that, the knight is the horse, and that, if you know chess, you know a little bit about what it's the shape of them, a little taller, a little shorter. So I'm just kind of faking. There's the pawns, and these are just dark. And I'm not sure what I drew here. Wait, that's 1, 2, 3. So there's a horse, 2, 3. So 1. Let's do a pawn here. Oops. Ooh. Okay, that's a really messy pawn. Here we have a tall rook also. And this is wet up here, so of course that's going to be not a good thing, but I've got to get going here. And then we've got the front of the. There's a castle in here somewhere. This is the queen, I think, and I'm not sure was the queen a dark or a light. I think it was a light. Chess player, he'd want to see exactly what dotted on, but that's not. We're not doing it for chess. We're just somebody who likes chess but is not that deep into it. And you could also spend more time and actually do it exactly. Maybe there's a certain move that if you're a chess player, certain moves that, that was made by a certain game, and you want to put that in there. That's good. That's fine. I'm not making that in here though. That's a little bit too detailed for me. Here I know this is a queen, and so then I'm just gonna get a little crown on top. Get a nice dark again for the dark pieces. There's a really dark piece right here. I think that's a knight. So, notice the base is bigger, right? The bases are really big compared to the piece itself. So just make sure you always do top not so wide, and the bottom just get really wide. And even these dark pieces or light pieces can have a little dark in them in front. This is kind of open here, so I will still also put in some of the checkerboard. Yeah, I'll put a little bit of that in later with a little tint of color. Looks like there's a pawn right here. Really dark if it moves down. Any questions? Can't wait to take your workshop. Oh, thanks, Maria. Can't wait to take your workshop. I keep on wanting to take Maria's urban sketching workshop. So she's going to hopefully have one, and then I can take it and maybe up in Lake Zurich, Illinois. Now there's probably too many pieces on the board, and they're going to say, hey, there's too many pieces. All right, is this dry yet? Oh man, I'm gonna get some watermarks, but I'm gonna have to get in there. So this whole area right here, I want to kind of bring down as darker, especially behind and underneath there. Here, same thing. I just want to go in there and get a really dark in there. And so, then I'm gonna just take my flat brush. Oh, I can see that the video is a little bit slow, isn't it? All right. Hopefully it hasn't been too bad, the videotaping. And I notice now in my videotaping here, I can see it just that it's slowing down. Let me hurry up and get this thing done before it goes too slow. So now again, I'm going with a really dark. You see how that now it looked really dark before, but now you can see the darks, and that makes the other lights, the other darks not so dark anymore, right? I mean, look at this. It just then you cover up those areas, and it's still wet in the wet, and you hopefully do it on a dry sheet of paper so that you don't get little bugging, little watermarks, basically. There's the table. And I really don't want to see all this light underneath here, but maybe a little bit of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this down like this and bring it into the foreground a little bit. Because otherwise it shows too much. I don't need to see that much of that area. I mean, it looks kind of cool that it's lit up underneath there, but I want things to fold together and keep your focus up here. And that's just too much light down there. So where should I'll make the light more over here or the dark more over here and have a little bit of light there. And same thing underneath this chair, underneath this bench here. Just going to bring that right into the bench so that you don't look at that area. I don't want you to look in areas, certain areas. And so I'm not going to be putting a hard edge there. Or if I do, I want to make sure that the values are very much the same. Same thing over here. I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. This chair has a really neat arm, and it has really neat little parts of the wood that come down here. It's almost like a chess piece. And so I'm just going to put a straight line first, and then it comes to the part here that's really dark. Connect that to this part. And then I'm going to use my round brush because it has this really nice little bit of this look of like a chess piece where it's a dowel, like a little dowel, but it has in and out little, I'm not sure what they call that, dowels. And then the bench goes down, the arm, the leg of the chair. And then this, I just want to be not so noticeable. Again, just blur it out. All right, and keeps your eye over here. Now look how light that got in there too. Everything got so light, and so you really have to push the darks, really push them. And also my values of my shadowing here could be a little bit darker when they start, and so I can make them a little bit darker going across. Gives it more lighting effect. Underneath here too. The arm of the chair has right here. See this little part that's what happens when it's wet, the little bit of dots there. Those you can take off though, watch this. You can just take your damp brush and I can just go across it and then just wipe it off. Once it's dry, you just wipe those things off and it can be nice and clean again. Now for the checkerboard, first things first, let me just get in here, edge of the window, frame, so I can make the top of the armchair a little bit light. And that's probably shiny, so I'm gonna put a light wash there because wood is usually shiny on the surface, and you just this right here be like a reflection in there, so it would reflect it into a shiny. And even with the top of the table, there's also shadows, but there are also reflections. When something is wet or shiny, the same thing. Somebody asked me today about that, about they wanted to be able to do shiny streets, and you do that just like you would do anything else that's shiny and wet. Even though it's not wet, things that are shiny have the look of wetness. So I'm just going to take those things and just bring them down through there. A tint of color, just a little small tint, like showing it's from the top down, and you're getting these reflections in there. So it looks like a reflection into the shiny top of the table. It's just like water, like a sidewalk. Anything that's shiny and wet, or not shiny and wet, a mirror that's hard, is just shiny and it will reflect what's above it. And so now let's do the checkerboard. How much time do I have left here? 15 minutes? We're doing plenty of time. Thanks, Kathy. Hopefully this one is working. Is it working or is it really choppy? I'd like to know that. So next time I can figure things out better because it's see here now I'm putting checkerboard in. I'm taking the side of my brush and actually doing a checkerboard and try to make it pretty even. A little bit darker over here. And using a flat brush on an angle, almost like calligraphy. I'm doing the boxes, the little squares, I'm just doing with the side of the brush and pulling it like it's like calligraphy, like you're doing that brush stroke. Oh boy, what is that? Must be really twitching. All right, so let me think. The shadow off of this pillow. Just gonna make this a little bit harder edged. Throw the shadow of the pillow. Then this can be a little bit darker. Side of the bench, a little bit darker. Maybe make this a little bit thicker as it comes wider. Bleed it together so it doesn't really show anything in the corner there. The edge of this is a little bit darker, so that's good. We got that already already established. This seems a little bit too bright over here. I'm just going to put a little dark here. You don't need to have, again, I don't want my eye to go over there, so I don't really need to have my eye sitting in that spot. Here I can give it a nice dark edge also. Just taking my dark colors. And what else we have here? Let's do underneath the table here. There's a little bit of dark around this. The side of the pillow. I'm gonna put some kind of texture or things on the pillows themselves, and I'll take my little round rigger brush and I will detail the pillow. There's some written embroidery on it and stuff, and so that's very much your final details, the details that really are small and super fine. So that's the last thing you do, basically. There's still this curtain I gotta separate from the wall. You do that. There's a pole that's holding this lamp up. See how it didn't wobble? I mean, it didn't wrinkle my paper after I made these big washes then, after I wet it. So if you're using 140, don't tape it. Just wet the back and stick it onto a plexiglass or a plastic surface where you don't want something that absorbs the water. You want something that stays, the water stays. Because then you have a really nice flat surface. All right, so I'm gonna do the little squiggly swirly whirls here, little embroidery. You could put like whatever, check out some pillows or something. I can't see what's actually there, and I'm not sure I like what was there anyway. So I'm making up, and this part is a little wet, so that's actually good because I don't want it to be really detailed. Or maybe it's a flower inside here, some kind of flower pattern. All right, so then for the chair, the same thing. I'm just going to put a little embroidery in here too, just kind of giving it a pattern. Only one glitch. That's awesome. I'm glad it's working. Must just be my system. Yeah, let's make this shade a little bit. This shade a little bit different. I'm just gonna get too bright up here, so I'm just gonna give that shading a little bit. Put my arm down here, so now I got something on my arm. Nice. Look at that. All right. Was that too bright? That pillow? That's okay. It has a little bit of the arm right there. I can use the arm of the chair or the bench. All right, Tina, you see anything that I should still do? Tina likes to tell me something that I should still do. All right. Let's do a little bit of the let's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a little bit of the dark lines for the grout, and then I can scrub around them and also scrub make the dark make some of the parts darker. So I'm gonna make a little bit of this of these bricks, like these bricks that you see up there in the works here. And so I'm just gonna put a little of those in there. So that just looks different than the bench itself. The bench itself probably should have been darker than the background, but I kind of like how it's light now, and so maybe I'll give that a little bit of embroidery too. Let me just give it that because you really use a stencil, I think, like a nice stencil in here. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of some kind of embroidery, a texture. Back to doing our brickwork, and then we're almost done here, right? Now let's look at so make this go through here. A small one maybe. Like I know right now it's dark, but I will scrub it out to make some part light, and then I'll actually make those bricks darker. I'll just put a little bit of a dark brick in there. But this is also establishes what I'm going to be doing with these little it's a rock wall. It's a wall with rocks, boulders. Right now it's rub out. And so how do I rub out? I use my 1/4 inch. I wet it. I get some paper towel, which I don't have. I just have a towel. I've been using. I go to like TJ Maxx and you buy these dish towels. Like I think I got 8 of them for like $6. And they're just I can wash them. I can keep on using them. Really love being able to use things over and over, and you just absorb so much better than paper towel. Paper towel, I really don't like to use paper towel a lot because it just falls apart, and I have a towel now that I bring everywhere I go. This towel that I'm working on, I just been bringing it to all the hotels I stay at because that way I have my towel and I don't have to use theirs for one. Now this one may have been one I stole at one of the hotels anyways. They probably charged me for it for all I know. And I'm just wiping it out and you can blot it. And then you can have the nice little texture. And just wet it, blot it, wet it, blot it. Oh no, I just, oh boy, I just took all this is still wet, so I took all the watercolor off it, so now I got the pattern of the towel in there, which actually doesn't look too bad. So let's make those darker again. That's one thing. You do have to wait for things to dry sometimes. So I'm just gonna make these a little bit darker and negative paint my lines in there. I'm just painting in the the grout lines by painting a darker brick or a darker stone. This is sometimes good to just do for practice. Like, don't do a painting, but just try to make patterns of like things like bricks, um, leaves, things that are, going detailed on things, but how can you do them? Like rubbing out, negative painting, rubbing down. And if I wait for it to dry, I can do it even better than this. And you can do it after it's all dry. That probably works even better because right now this area is still a little wet. Things, take a long, sometimes when you really do these wet and wet washes, it really takes a while for things to dry. Well, there we go. Any questions? Oh yeah, those blue auto shop towels, those are great. Those are actually really good too. Or they have the paper towels, the blue paper towels that are really, those are really sturdy. And or if you buy Viva, if you're gonna buy a paper towel, buy a Viva. Not the with the texture on it though, just the plain Viva. Those are really good. And over here, I'm gonna negative paint in the bricks by leaving a little bit of the grout line again. Leave that alone. I'm gonna make some of it. I just realized now what I want to do is do some detail on my board again. That's the most important part is the board here. And so I'm just gonna do this part. It looks like there's like it folds together. Underneath there's a really dark line. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of warmth inside some of the squares of the checkerboard or chessboard, checkerboard. I'm gonna make some of these red just because I want them to be warm and I want them to match some of these other warmths on there. So why not make them a couple of them nice red? I'll give the same feel as the red elsewhere in the picture. And again, once you use it somewhere, use it somewhere else, especially in your center of interest. It helps out a lot when it comes to using a color that's really rich like that in your center of interest. All right, I think pretty soon we're done here. So any last questions? There's two handles. Oh yeah, there are two handles on the chessboard. Yeah, let's put them in there. Thank you, Tina. I knew you'd answer. Let's put them in right here. This one right there. I'll put them in dark and then I'll put them in with a white afterwards so that it is going to be opaque. That's fine. What I do is I first put a dark part of the handles. Is that where they are? Okay. Yeah, I think that's where they are. Let me just make dark right there. All right. Let's do the light then, and that'll be about it. So I'm taking pure white, and I can do a little rim lighting on some of these pieces to give them like the light is shining really bright right here. And that's one thing, if you use masking fluid first, because you can't use white paint because of like a certain show that you put in where they don't allow white, then do that. Otherwise, just use white paint and do little highlights, little rim lighting on things. You can put little dots and it makes it look shiny. Again, things that look shiny, you can just do that with white. This is a little bit too light. Let me just mush that around a little bit in there. Maybe a little bit light there. The curtain can have some little bit lights on it. Hits of light. Maybe this pole right here has a little bit of light on it. All right. I think that's it, guys. Let me put this away. Put this on white so you can just see it without the messiness around it. And boy, that's still wet. And that's our reason when you do it this wet in the wet on the back. Now this is really wet right here. It takes a little bit longer for your image to dry because of that. So here we go. There it is. Have fun with it, guys. I know it's a different kind of subject matter, it's a little something different, but I always like to do something that it doesn't really matter what you paint. You're still doing it the same way. You still do wet into wet. I mean, lights to dark, you know, you do your soft edges. Everything stays the same. It's just a different pattern of light and dark. All right, so until next week, and next week I will, am I back? Yes, I think I'm back finally. I'll be back, and not sure what we're painting next week, but I'll see you then. And please subscribe. If you have friends that want to subscribe, please subscribe. And also hit the like button for me. And that would be really nice of you. All right. So until next week, thanks a lot, guys.